Hello book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to Nat Cat's Bookish Cafe. Today I am here to start my second vlog where I am reading other YouTubers' favorite books of 2023. So it may seem a little bit late in the year to still be doing videos like that, but what can I say? I'm the kind of person who just goes at their own pace. This is the second time I'm doing it. I did one a little bit earlier in the year where I selected 3 books and went ahead and vlogged my experience of reading those. I ended up reading The Daughter of No Worlds, God of Good Looks, as well as A History of Fear. So if you would like to go ahead and see that video, I will go ahead and link that up above. But essentially what I did is during the month of January primarily, I was watching some of the people that I follow on YouTube do their top books of 2023, and I selected one book from each of those people, added it to a spinner wheel, and then in these videos I randomly select 3 books and I go ahead and read them. The books that I selected, I kind of went for books that I obviously thought sounded potentially interesting because I don't want to set myself up for failure, but I also didn't want to choose books that I would potentially be reading in the next few months. So like priority books, but not high priority books, because I knew that I would probably be doing 2 to 3 rounds of this throughout the year. So that being said, I am filming this here in June just so I can go ahead and have this clip ready, and so I know what books I need to go ahead and get from the library or potentially need to purchase, and also so that I know what books I need to be putting on my July TBR. All right, so here is the wheel that we will be using. I did take out the 3 books that I have already read. I have to admit at this point, I'm not even 100% sure all of the books that are on here, so it'll be a surprise for all of us what we get. That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and spin 3 times in a row and then talk about the books. Last time I tried to break it up and I ended up having some technical difficulties, so you didn't see the last 2 spins. So this time we're just gonna do it in one fell swoop and avoid any sort of technical difficulties that may arise. So let's go ahead and do spin number 1. I'm really excited and very nervous. So get my little pen and paper ready on what I'll be reading. The Girl Who Drank the Moon. That I believe is a middle grade book. All right, so going into spin number 2. The Bandit Queens. Okay, all right. All right, guys, final spin. Born Darkly. I think this was one of the books that hadn't previously been on my TBR, but the synopsis intrigued me, so I went ahead and added it to this list. I want to say it's a dark romance, but let's go ahead and look at what I pulled, who recommended it, and of course giving a synopsis for these 3 books. All right, so the first book we had got was The Girl Who Drank the Moon, and that is by Kelly Barnhill. And this book was one of the top books for Beautifully Bookish Bethany, and I believe this is a YouTuber that I'm somewhat new to. I think I just started following her this year, but I've really been enjoying her videos. She reads a lot, and I have really been enjoying her reviews and getting recommendations from her. So she recommended The Girl Who Drank the Moon, which I think some other people recommended just because it is a relatively popular, not young adult, middle grade book, I want to say. And I believe we are following a woman who lives in the woods, and people keep sacrificing babies to her. Like they kind of put the babies out in the woods because they think she's evil and needs to be appeased, and she's like, why do you guys keep leaving me babies? And I think she kind of feeds them starlight and then brings them somewhere to another family that can raise them. But one day I think she ends up accidentally feeding the baby moonlight, and so she ends up raising this girl on her own. So I think it sounds kind of like a cute story. We will kind of see how I feel about it. I don't read a ton of middle grade, but every once in a while when I do read it, I do tend to have a decent time. So I'm excited to check out this book. So up next we have The Bandit Queens by Perini Schroff. And this was recommended by Katie Marie, who's also a slightly newer YouTuber to me, but been following her for a few months. I think I found her because of her cozy fantasy recommendations. I think a lot of people found her that way. And so I think she does a lot of like cozy books, but I also think she does quite a bit of horror. But I've been enjoying her channel quite a bit. I think she's got a really fun, bubbly personality, and she recommended this book. This book, I feel like I've heard slightly mixed things, but I've definitely been intrigued by it. I believe we're following a woman whose husband had disappeared, and everyone assumed she murdered him, which seems not to be the case, but they kind of like don't mess with her and leave her alone, and so she's like, I'll just let them believe it because I'm enjoying being this feared person that no one messes with. However, other women start approaching her and asking her to help them get rid of their husbands, and it seems like some of them are a little aggressive about it, and so her life starts getting complicated and she kind of needs to figure out how to get herself out of this situation. Also potentially helping these women because clearly their abusive husbands are an issue, and she probably wants to go ahead and rescue them from that. So I am intrigued to see what I think about this story, and fingers crossed I like it as much as Katie Marie did. So the final book is Born Darkly by Trisha Wolfe, and this was recommended by Sarah without an H, who I recently found because she's a really good friend of Riley Marie, someone I've been following for a very long time. And if you're looking someone with a lot of energy, a lot of humor, just a bubbly, wonderful personality, then you definitely should go ahead and check her out because I just love the way she talks. I could just listen to her talk for like hours. It's just the perfect combination of quirky and sassy. But she recommended this book, which seems to be, like I said, a dark romance where a prison psychologist ends up falling for one of her patients who is a serial killer. So we will see, because I am always intrigued by the idea of dark romances, and I've already read some romances that could be considered slightly dark, but nothing too crazy, and I have no idea how dark this book is going to get, but I am definitely intrigued by the concept, so I'm going to go ahead and get my hands on it, and hopefully it is a success for me, just like it was for Sarah. All right, guys, so those are the 3 books that I'm going to be reading in this vlog. I'm going to go ahead and get my hands on those, and then I will go ahead and check in with you once I've decided which book I want to start first.
I'm falling to pieces in my room. Are you coming over? That's cool. I could use a little something to do. We could go outside, take a little ride if you want to. That's cool. I did what I was supposed to. There's nothing left for me to do. So now I'm poking out my head through open windows. Cause that's what I feel like. Do it tonight. Waking up my brain, maybe you can do the same thing. You want me to say something, I come up with nothing. Maybe we can talk until we figure out a topic. Been so long in my head, caught up in my feelings. me to say something. I come up with nothing. Maybe we can talk until we figure out a topic. Been so long in my head, caught up in my feelings. I've been waiting for something new to happen. You want me to say something? I come up with nothing. Maybe we should talk until we figure out a topic. Been so long without it, caught up in my feelings.
Alright guys, so I am 25% through the first book, which is going to be Born Darkly. This book is available on KU, and I got a KU subscription a little while ago, but that'll be coming to an end soon, so I decided I better start with this book. So this is a book that I had never heard about until I watched Hannah with an H's best books of the year video, but I thought that it sounded like an interesting concept. I have always wondered if I wanted to dabble a little bit more in dark romances. I have read psychopath romances before, mostly through Only James, who wrote Unhinged, which is the first book in that series. I don't remember what the series is called, but either way, I do enjoy a psychopath romance. This book, I am now about a quarter of the way through it, so I figured I would go ahead and give you my initial thoughts. I will say I am intrigued by where the story is gonna go. I am intrigued to see kind of how this ends up. Essentially, we are following a psychologist who has taken on a patient who is going to be tried for murder in another state. And this state happens to have the death penalty. So she is assuming that this patient is coming to her so that she can go ahead and get to know him and then can go ahead and support him at the trial, because she does do that. She is very well known for working with criminals. She's a criminal psychologist, one of the very best. And she seems to have some sort of contract with this specific prison, and I believe this started either because they helped with her schooling costs or because she wanted to interview some of their prisoners there, and they kind of said, you can do this in exchange for seeing some of our prisoners for this amount of time, and that amount of time is coming to an end soon. She's looking to kind of move on with her life, but this man is known as the Angel of Maine, I think was kind of his name, and she has always been really intrigued by him and has tried to interview him, and she's really excited to have this opportunity to work with him. So his name is Grayson, and he was arrested for killing 5 people, and he videotaped his killing of them because he would use traps. So he never like physically killed them himself. He would use these contraptions to kill them, and essentially they would have to experience some sort of torture similar to the torture that they put upon their victims, because he only killed like bad people, and if they wanted out of that torture, they could do so by essentially killing themselves, saying that they would rather die than go through with it. And so there hasn't been too much information about him out to the public because they're worried the public will support him and see him as a vigilante because he's only killing bad people. But she's very interested in him, and he is very interested in her. She has a bit of a unknown past at this point, but it seems like she came from a relatively small town and is kind of trying to leave that tragic past behind. Something bad happened back then, and he is very intrigued in her because it seems like she has some of her own psychological problems, and a lot of it she's repressing, and he's kind of trying to get her to open up to him to kind of show that they are one and the same, or at the very least compatible in some way. And it's very clear that he has a very strong effect on her, and she is a little bit nervous about moving forward with her sessions with him, but at the same time it's just like a kind of opportunity she can't give up, because his psychological diagnosis, I can't remember the word of it, but it's essentially that he experiences sexual release while seeing other people suffer at the hands of something that he did. So oftentimes people will cause like disasters, like start fires, like arson, or cause car accidents, and they'll watch it and it'll cause them to be aroused. But his is different in that his sexual arousal comes from torturing people and then killing them. So that's something she's really interested in talking to him about and studying. So that is kind of where we're at right now. Like I said, I think it's really interesting. They haven't really started a relationship. It's definitely clear that they're like attracted to each other and they've had a few sessions together and whatnot, but there hasn't been any sort of like physical contact or anything, or any sort of like romantic gestures or whatnot. But it is enough for me to start to kind of wonder where the story is going to go. Like, is he going to escape prison? Is she going to help him? Are they going to become kind of like a killing duo, or is she going to let him go and never see him again? Is he going to die and she needs to live with that? I mean, like, literally, I don't know what's going to happen, and I am really intrigued to see where the author takes it. That being said, I think that the writing is not really working for me. It's giving me nothing. Like, it is purely the plot and the potential of the plot that is keeping me reading this book. Like, I feel like I have no connection really to the characters. There aren't any lines in the book where I'm like, ooh, I need to highlight that, because oftentimes when you're dealing with a psychopath, you just expect like these unhinged lines that just have you going like, oh my god, I can't believe he just said that. And I just haven't really experienced that yet. The writing is just really bland, and so far the characters are very two-dimensional. It's clear they have interesting things around them, but they themselves just aren't giving me much. So I think that the writing is definitely the weakest part of this story, but hopefully the plot pulls it through. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Definitely not on the trajectory to be one of my favorite books of the year or to be a 5-star or anything, but who knows? We're only a quarter of the way through. A lot of things are going to start happening. I think that our character London, the psychologist, is going to start taking more risks within their session, which could potentially bring the two of them closer and closer as she starts to kind of unravel some of the things that she has locked away in her mind from her past that could prove that she's not the put together person that she kind of is trying to be. I will also say that what I think is really interesting is that she has a criminal psychologist friend who she is seeing as a therapist, because she needs a therapist herself because of her past trauma, and that woman is actually a sociopath due to having been kidnapped and tortured as a young person, and she's one of the few people that knows that her friend is a sociopath, and she's kind of like, you don't have to pretend to be like a normal person around me, or like pretend that you have any sort of like real true emotions. And I just think that's an interesting aspect of the story, and you kind of wonder, like, someone who works with criminals all the time and helps them and kind of understands them potentially needs to be a little psychotic themselves in order to like fully be able to like help the person. So I just thought that that was really interesting. So there's interesting stuff going on. It's just the writing is really weak, and that's just taking away some of the enjoyment of the story, because it makes it a little bit flat, and you just really have to like focus on the plot to get yourself to move forward. You have to be like, okay, I know this kind of reads boring, but there's interesting things that are going to happen. I just know it, and that's kind of what's pushing me forward right now. But those are my thoughts on the book. I did also want to take a moment to talk about the kitten that you have been seeing. This is the first vlog where he will be showing up. His name is Tofu, and I'm sure you will see plenty of him as I document our journey with him. We just got him on Wednesday. Today is Saturday, so he's only been with us for a few days. He's currently hanging out in our guest bedroom slash my work office. He was initially in the bathroom, but we decided that he should be around someone more consistently, and since I work during the week in that office, it was the best option. He is super cute. His name is Tofu. He was about 8 weeks old when we got him. We actually got him from a woman that my mom works with, and we had previously gotten a cat from her as well, Bowtie, which if you've been with me for a long time, since the beginning, you will know Bowtie. He unfortunately passed away back in the end of 2022, but we actually got Bowtie from her as well. She doesn't breed cats or anything. She just lives in a very forested area where feral cats like to give birth, and every once in a while, if she can get close to them, she'll try and capture their kittens and get them spayed, and eventually sometimes she'll take the kittens and see if she can rehome them. And so that is what happened with us. And Tofu himself, she ended up catching before the rest of the family because he got stuck in her garage for a while. So she kind of wanted to keep him, but she unfortunately just didn't have room for him. And she knows that we loved Bowtie and he had a really great life here. So she reached out to see if we were interested in another kitten, and we are, because right now we only have one cat, Loki, who I don't think has made an appearance yet in this vlog, but I'm sure he will. We adopted him back in 2020 with his sister, but unfortunately a year after we got them, his sister disappeared, most likely taken by a coyote, since those are in this area. And then it was just Bowtie and Loki, and then Bowtie passed away the year after that, and so Loki kind of came into a home with 3 cats and then was all of a sudden just himself. So we're hoping that he and the kitten get along and that they become friends. So far they haven't like interacted one-on-one, but they've definitely smelled each other and seen each other kind of through the door and stuff, and there hasn't been any hissing or anything. Loki has definitely been a little like suspicious, but we are optimistic that the two of them get along. So that's just a little update on the cat situation in this house, the newest employee of Nat Cat's Bookish Cafe, as I kind of posted about earlier. But that being said, I have a bit of filming and whatnot that I still need to do today, and then we'll see if I can get some more reading done. I do have a vacation coming up later this month, so I think I will be a little busier than usual as I kind of prepare for being gone for a week. I am going to see if I can do it where I'm not actually missing any videos. Since it's only 2 videos, I don't think that should be too much work. But that being said, I do have a little bit less time to read as I'm filming and editing videos throughout the week. I know that this video shouldn't be coming out until late in the month, so all the things that I'm kind of talking about have already come and gone. But that being said, I will go ahead and check in with you probably when I'm about 50% through this book.
Things that I usually don't. Find my way through the hotel lobby. Make the same when I'm on my own. All my friends think I'm with somebody, doing things that I usually don't. Find my way through the hotel lobby. Make the same when I'm on my own. Up, down, on the I've been around the floor, rooftops, sliding doors. Just wanna know you more. I hope you wanna be with somebody, spending all of the night moonwalking. And with the view she could see her building. Try to tell her I know I feel it. Keep me floating, I'm on my back. Slow me down when I'm living fast. You make me wanna be with somebody, doing things that I usually don't. Find my way through the hotel lobby. Make the same when I'm on my own. All my friends think I'm with somebody, doing things that I usually don't. Find my way through the hotel Ain't the same when I'm behind my.
Alright guys, so me and Tofu are here to do another update on our book. We have gone ahead and reached the 50% mark of this book. And I continue to be conflicted on how I'm feeling because I feel like plot-wise, I am really invested. I'm really interested to see what happens. I'm just having trouble connecting to London. Grayson is starting to grow on me. There's been a couple lines from him that have given me that possessive psychopath vibe that I want from this book, but London is still, I think she's still holding back too much of her true self for me to really be able to connect to her. So I'm kind of hoping that her revealing some things about her past to Grayson has maybe broken her open enough for her to go ahead and move forward as a more interesting character, to put it lightly. The writing has grown on me a little bit. Like I said with Grayson, he's kind of giving me a bit more of what I want, but at the same time, it is still a little bit on the bland side. So it's not like the most interesting writing I've ever read. And while I am interested in what's happening, I at the same time don't really have any problem putting this book down. So it's not as if it's like an impulsive read or anything like that. So right now it is still giving like 3.5 stars, but we'll see. I kind of have a feeling that the second half of this book is going to be more exciting. So I will go ahead and reserve my judgment until I finish the book. That being said, I will probably go ahead and check in with you once I have completed this book, and you will get my final thoughts on it. Alright, so I want to try something new with my chai latte. Recently, I have been mixing honey in with my milk and then using one of these little doohickeys to kind of mix it, and that's been really good. But I saw someone do it with peanut butter, and I'm a big peanut butter fan. So we're going to try that, and we're going to see if it works and if it tastes good. So let's give it a try. All right, moment of truth. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really taste the peanut butter. Like, I definitely smell it, but I didn't put much in because I didn't know how much like it would overpower. But I definitely think I could put more in because it just tastes like a chai right now. It's there. Just a little, but next time I think I'll add a little bit more peanut butter. Say hi, Amy. Thank Thanks for visiting. Guys, so I have officially finished Born Darkly, and this was a bit of a roller coaster ride when it came to what I thought I would rate this book, because I think last time I checked in with you I was kind of like, oh, I think it's gonna be like a 3.5, and then I was like, well, maybe it's more like a 3, and then I was like, maybe it's more like a 2.5, and then I was like, maybe it's like a 2. Maybe I want to DNF this book. Maybe I don't want to read this anymore. And I think I have to settle on, I think I have to settle on a 2.5. I really feel like if I think a book is mid and at times like straight up unlikable, then a 2.5 is a good rating. Because I feel like mid is what I give like 3-star books. But this book, every once in a while, it dipped below mid. So I think I gotta give it 2.5 stars, making it my lowest rated book of the year so far, because I could not get behind London. I feel like Grayson kind of grew on me a little bit, but like the last 30% of the book, I kind of skimmed. Like I literally skimmed the last few pages of the book, and I don't do that very often. But like I said, I kind of at points was like, do I want to DNF this? But because I was reading for this video, and also I'm using it for the Tales of Two Trails kind of challenge that Kim does on her page, I was like, okay, I gotta finish this book, and it's not that much longer. We only have like 40 pages left. We can do this. But it's really hard because there were so many plot points that I found interesting. It was just the characters and the writing that always kept me at arm's length. And so I never felt really connected to the story. And this is a duology. I believe there's definitely gonna be a second book. And I'm not reading it because I don't care about these characters. I will say it was an interesting concept. There was just something that kept me from liking the story. And I think London was my main problem. I just felt like she was supposed to be like this intelligent psychologist, the top of her field, and she just kept falling into Grayson's traps. Like this girl could not get ahead of him to save her life. Like Girly was not living up to her title as a well-known criminal psychologist whatsoever, and it was just a little bit annoying that she kept falling into his traps and then being like in denial and yelling at him and being like, you're crazy for thinking this and all that stuff. And I'm like, girl, just open up your mind a little bit. If you just stop and think, then you'll know that he's not crazy, and you just need to welcome yourself back to reality because you've been living in a lie for so long. And so I think it just took her like way too long to be getting to where we needed her to be, and she was just starting to piss me off a little bit. Grayson, like I said, I thought was a little bit more interesting, but at the same time, I felt like the author had this really great concept, but didn't have the skill set to really dive into these characters enough for us to really get the emotions of like a true dark romance. This was all just a little bit too surface level, to the point where it was starting to feel more cheesy than intense, in my opinion. Hannah obviously thought this was one of her best books of the year, so if you're into psychopath romances, then I definitely think that this is potentially one to check out, just because I do think the concept is so interesting. It's just, for me, the characters, the writing didn't work, and I really care about writing, and I'm a very character-driven person, so it didn't work for me. So 2.5 is what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next book, potentially tonight. I'm not sure because I finished this book on my last break, so I gotta go to work and then I have to go to gym and I gotta shower, wash my hair, and then I want to do some editing of another video. So I think the next one I want to go ahead and start is Bandit Queens. That is the story I'm most intrigued by, and after being so disappointed by this book, I want to go with the book that I think I'm most likely to rate highly. So that is the book and then I'm going to start, and I will go ahead and check in with you later, probably tomorrow or the day after, depending on how much reading I get done, to give you my initial thoughts on that book. But not off to a great start so far. So we can hopefully only go up from here.
If I could tell you, I don't think you'd believe how long I felt this way. I'm begging you to stay. And if I could show you, I'd hope that you could see all the possibilities. There could be a place for you and me. Under the stars, you pack up your car, 'cause you're going far away from here. I wish I could stall, but I never call. Alright guys, so I'm here to do my initial update on the Bandit Queens. I was gonna wait until I was 25% through, which is around 80 pages, but I'm only 40 pages into it, but I feel like I want to go ahead and get into my initial thoughts before anything too crazy happens. So essentially our narrator is Gita, and she is the woman who was accused of killing her husband, or rather it's rumored that she killed her husband because about 5 years ago he just disappeared. So everyone's like, it was her, and she has kind of been living off of the fact that people fear her a lot because they kind of think she's, I forget what they call it, but essentially it's kind of like a witch of sorts, that's how she killed him, and so they kind of try to stay out of trouble with her, which helps her in some ways because she makes beads, necklaces of a sort, for brides, and initially the brides didn't want to buy from her because they were like, you're a self-made widow, like why would we buy from you? But then a couple of the women who got married, their marriages ended really quickly, so they're like, oh my god, she'll curse you if you don't buy her necklaces for your wedding, like she'll curse your marriage. And so now they all buy necklaces from her, and she was like, I didn't do any of that. She did not kill her husband. She has no idea what happened to him. She's not too upset that he's gone because he was abusive, unfortunately, but you know, she's doing the best that she can do. And it seems like they live in a small village where small money lenders come around and they will give you a small loan, and this program was specifically made for women to go ahead and give them extra support. Single women, women in marriages, women with children, all that kind of stuff. But it's only given to groups of women. So they have these loan groups. And our main character is part of one of those with 3 or 4 other women. I think it's 4 other women. And essentially they each month get together and pay back part of the loan that they owe, I guess. And one of these days this woman doesn't show up to pay her portion of the loan, and Gita goes ahead and pays her portion. And when this lady shows up, she shows up with a black eye, very clearly that her husband has beat her, and she says that her husband took her portion of what she owed to buy liquor. And then she kind of was like, hey, you know, I appreciate you helping me, but I'm hoping you can help me some more by helping me kill my husband like you once killed yours. And our main character was like, no thank you,
not my problem, your husband. You know, none of you guys came and helped me when my husband disappeared, and everyone was spreading rumors about the fact that I killed him because you said it was a family matter. So this is your family matter, so you can go ahead and handle that all on your own, please and thank you. But then she overhears this husband talking to the liquor maker saying, my wife has a friend who gave her money and I will make sure she gives us more money or she will pay a price. And she's like, this man did not just threaten me. For booze? Absolutely not. So she went back to this woman and was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's kill your man. So that's kind of the part of the story that we are at. One of the other women in this loan group is named Solani, and she and Gita used to be really good friends for the first 19 years of their life, but then Gita got married and their friendship kind of fell apart. And Solani has always kind of been a bully of sorts. She has a very strong personality. She grew up even poorer than all the other poor people in the village, and so she's kind of been more than happy to like do what needs to be done to give herself a better life. And some of that nasty behavior kind of turned on Gita after Gita got married, and learning a little bit about her marriage to this man whose name I'm forgetting. I want to say it was like Ramesh. So she was marrying Ramesh, and he was not like a good looking guy or anything. He wasn't like incredibly wealthy or anything along those lines, just your normal everyday dude. And her parents were like, good enough. Okay. And she was like, yeah, good enough. And he seemed really nice in the beginning, but it seems like after her parents died a year into their marriage, he started kind of like physically and emotionally abusing her. And when she was kind of discussing the fact that Solani didn't like him, she kind of made it seem like Solani was jealous of her because no one wanted to marry Solani because she didn't have a dowry to offer. And Solani's like, no, I just don't think he's worthy of you, you know, he's not good enough. And she's like, no, you don't think he's good enough for you, and because I'm marrying him in turn, you don't think I'm good enough for you either. So she kind of jumped the gun on that a little bit, but it was very clear that Ramesh had been arguing with her friend a lot and was kind of trying to poison our character against her friend, you know. So while she thought like he was really sweet in the beginning of the marriage, and then there was suddenly a twist, we as the reader could see that he already had a very toxic personality, and that he was very early, like even before the wedding, trying to alienate her from her support system and was trying to separate her from those she cared about so that she had only him to rely on, which is a trait of an abusive partner. So I'm really interested to see what happens with her and Solani, because Solani is the kind of person who like knows all the gossip. She's pretty clever. She kind of pays attention to everything. So I feel like if they go through this with this murder, there's no way she's not going to like find out about it. So I'm intrigued to see what she kind of does with it, if there is any chance of their friendship being like re-sparked or anything along those lines. It does say that this does focus on like womanhood and female friendship. So that is definitely something that I am looking forward to in this story. I'm not going to say that I'm 100% gripped, but I am only 40 pages in, so I am intrigued to see where the story goes. At this point, I'm not loving our main character, but she's not exactly a likable person. She's the pariah of the town, so she's kind of like over it when it comes to trying to be a likable person, and she is a very hard working woman as well. So she's definitely the kind of person that I could respect. She does swear a lot, which I don't love, and neither do the people around her. I'm not the biggest fan of like a ton of swear words. I mean, it's not like
so much that it's like unappealing, but at the same time I'm kind of like there's a way to get your unhappiness across without swearing. And I swear I'm not crying or anything, I'm just like, my allergies are really bad today. There's something blooming, you know, high levels of something starting yesterday. My allergies have just been really bad. So especially sitting outside here, I'm just like, I'm dying a little bit. But that being said, I think she definitely is a character that could grow on me as she kind of thaws a little bit and kind of lets her walls down and lets these other women in, and as it becomes more of a female empowerment against abusive men kind of situation, I definitely think that she's the kind of person who's willing to get done what needs to be done. So those are my initial thoughts, and I will go ahead and check in with you once I get a bit further into the story.
And under the stars, you pack up your car, 'cause you're going far away from here. I wish I could stall, but I never call, and you're going all the way this year. If I could tell you, I don't think you'd believe how long I felt this way. I'm begging you to stay, and if I could show you, I'd hope that you could see all the possibilities. There could be a place for you and me. I feel 100 degrees.
Alright guys, so I am here to do a check-in. We are over halfway through the book on page 180, and I am reading this way slower than I would like to be, but I feel a little bit slumpy, which is not surprising considering I finished 2 books earlier this month and rated one 2 stars and one 2.5 stars. So we're not having a great time with reading this month, which is unfortunate, and I'm not disliking this book, but I don't think that I'm enjoying it enough for it to really outshine the slump that I'm in. So it is a bit of a struggle. It is a slow and steady race at this point. I am enjoying certain aspects of the story, to be sure. I think that we are getting a little bit more into the female friendship portion of this book. In the beginning, our character Gita is very much on her own, I would say, and she has been very isolated since her husband died, and part of that is because of the rumors, but I think throughout the story she's starting to realize that part of it is her fault as well, because she kind of assumed that everyone who did reach out to her was reaching out to her out of pity, or that her showing up to any parties she was invited to would just lead to her being, you know, kind of bullied or harassed by people that were spreading these rumors about her being essentially an evil witch. And it's becoming clear that people are like, no, we were like actually inviting you, and we just thought maybe you thought you were too good for us and all that jazz. And she's also starting to realize the part that she has played in the ruined relationships of her past, and that while she is a victim in some aspects, she has also said things or committed actions that have hurt other people and increased the distance between her and them. So now that she's starting to like communicate with these people a little bit more, they are probably going to start being able to kind of move through their issues a little bit and focus on the issues at hand, which is that some of these women want their husbands to be dead, and also that our character has found herself in a rather difficult position with the woman whose husband she first helped kill earlier in this book. This woman is proving to be a little mentally unstable, I would say. So I am enjoying watching her and Solani. The two of them have a very interesting relationship where they are constantly bickering every time that they are together. They haven't been friends for a very long time, but it's very clear that the two of them used to be friends, and they sometimes just fall into the pattern of just two squabbling young girls, or even two squabbling old ladies that have known each other for years and years and know exactly where to press to piss the other one off. So I am enjoying that relationship a lot. There is a somewhat of a love interest in here. I want to say his name was Kareem or something along those lines, and I'm interested to see where that goes. But I think that the story focuses a lot on kind of how we perceive people, what our initial perceptions of them are, and how those change as we get to know them better. We definitely are seeing our character have certain expectations of how certain people will react to situations, and being surprised by how wrong she is. She's not the best judge of character, I'm going to be honest. She is wrong more often than she has been right, and that has definitely gotten her into a little bit of trouble. As far as plot, I feel like things are getting a little bit more interesting. It was a little bit slow paced. I wouldn't say that this is kind of a fast paced mystery or a fast paced thriller or anything along those lines. It is relatively slow paced, which, considering I'm in a bit of a slumpy mood right now, is not the best for me, but we are pulling through. The writing, I think, is okay. I think in the beginning I mentioned that I didn't like how much our character cursed, and that seems to have subsided a little bit, so I'm enjoying her dialogue a little bit. This book does have some humor in it, and while there's a part of me that is able to pick out the parts that are supposed to be humorous, I don't really think it's my sense of humor, so it's not exactly, so I'm not like laughing or anything along those lines. But I do think it is a more subtle, mature form of humor that I think works well for this story and does add a little bit more enjoyment to it, a little bit of levity to it, even if it's not leaving me laughing like a TJ Klune book or anything along those lines. So progress is being made, even if it's more slow than anything else. But I will say something that just happened here at the end of the chapter is not a good thing. So I'm intrigued to see how our character handles this situation and where we go from here, because our female characters seem to be becoming more and more of a team and kind of standing up for each other when someone wrongs one of them. And I think that if they find out that this happens, there's definitely going to be some pretty serious repercussions. They are definitely doling out some serious karma here. So that is my update for now. I will probably not check in with you until I finish this book, which I don't think is going to be for a few days. Unfortunately, I've been kind of busy with like filming and editing because I'm going to be gone for a week later this month. So I just need to get a little bit ahead of some things, and that is definitely taking away my reading time. And on top of this book, I have also been trying to focus on an audiobook as well as a nonfiction book. So things have just been a little bit crazy, but I am doing my best, and I will go ahead and check in with you once I finish this book, whenever that happens to be.
You make me wanna be things that I usually don't. Find my way through the hotel lobby. Ain't the same when I'm on my own. All my friends think I'm with somebody, doing things that I usually don't. Find my way through the hotel lobby. Ain't the same when I'm on my own. Up, down, on the road, I've been around the floor. Rooftops, sliding doors, just wanna know you more. I hope you wanna be with somebody, spending all of the night moonwalking. And with the view she could see her building. Try to tell her I know I feel it. Keep me floating, I'm on my back. Slow me down when I'm living fast. You make me wanna be with somebody, doing things that I usually don't. Find my way through the hotel lobby. Ain't the same when I'm on my own. All my friends think I'm with somebody, doing things that I usually don't. Find my way through the hotel lobby. Ain't the same when I'm on my own. And it's the end of the night, feel like you're dodging my eye. But then you're right by my side, tell me it's all in my mind.
Alright guys, me and my scrawny looking hair, guys, not looking great, have finally finished the Bandit Queen. So I'm here to give you my final thoughts on this. The second half was definitely stronger. It was definitely stronger than the first half. I really think that this author took her sweet time getting the ball rolling on this book. I felt like I enjoyed the characters more, I enjoyed the humor more, I thought that the pacing was better. So it really was like a completely different book in the second half. But that being said, while I think that the second half is 4-star material, I think that the first half is more 3-star material. So I think it is only fair for me to go ahead and give this a solid 3.5 stars. So I think that's what I'm gonna go ahead and go with. I really did enjoy some of the commentary that was in this book when it came to the oppression of women in this story, and just kind of how few options women have when it comes to protecting themselves, and just how difficult it can be to be a woman in a dangerous situation. But also, we are dealing with people that have been put down day after day, time and time again, and they're sick of it. And they are definitely lashing out, because at the end of the day, that is the only way that they can really protect themselves. And they can use the fact that society underestimates them to their advantage to get the revenge that they seek. I really enjoyed watching the friendships grow here in this book. That was definitely more present here in the second half, and one of the main reasons that I enjoyed the second half a lot more. I also enjoyed watching our character as she became a stronger individual as well. There is like a fly that keeps landing on my leg. This book does also touch a little bit on the caste system, and that's not something that I'm super familiar with or anything along those lines, so I can't comment on it as much. And it wasn't talked about quite as much as, say, you know, gender equality, but it was still brought up a few times throughout this story. I think that this book really focused on the strength of women as a group, which we know that women are very strong as individuals, but sometimes when you have society as a whole against you, you just have to team up with others. You can't go it alone or anything. And this really shows the strength of women when they are working together rather than fighting against each other. Because there was definitely a part in the beginning of the story where all the women were definitely kind of using each other, almost abusing each other, and everything was kind of falling apart. And it wasn't until they kind of came together and realized that they had a common enemy and that they had a common goal and that they were stronger together. And at the end of the day, they were the ones that understood each other the best. They were the ones that cared for each other the most, and they were just able to achieve more when they worked together. So it's really about the oppressed coming together to overpower the oppressor. So good stuff going on in this book. The first half was just a little wonky, in my opinion, a little slow, a little boring, but it definitely came through in the end and definitely had me laughing a few times. I did mention that there was a slight romance in here, and I did like the way that that continued to progress and that it continued to stay like a small part of the story, because this is definitely more focused on female friendship than on the romance and everything, and that it wasn't kind of like oh, the man that she's romantically involved with comes in and saves the day or anything along those lines. But it definitely also shows that it's very important to have male allies, because it can't just be men versus women all the time. So enjoyed that aspect of the story as well. So that is me finishing up that book. Better than a 2.5. Am I right? So maybe the next book I pick up, which will be The Girl That Drank the Moon, will be an even higher rating. I'm not sure if I'll do any... Oh my god, a rabbit just like zoomed by me. But I'm not sure if I'm going to do any more reading tonight. It is 8 o'clock, so I probably will do a little bit. But I really need to finish that book. Today is Wednesday, and I need to finish it by Sunday because I am going on a trip for a week on Monday, and I definitely don't want to take that book with me. So fingers crossed. It is, I believe, a young adult or a middle grade, and I looked at it and the text is really big, so it should be a relatively quick book compared to the other ones. So I will probably check in with you around the 25% mark like I have been doing to give you my initial thoughts on that.
Falling to pieces in my room. Are you coming over? That's cool. I could use a little something to do. We could go outside, take a little ride if you want to. That's cool. I did what I was supposed to. There's nothing left for me to do. So now I'm walking out my head through open windows, 'cause that's what I feel like.
Guys, so I just got out of a facial. Oh my god, I love facials, and I've probably only got like 2 or 3 of them in my life. I really need to do them more often, especially since I have sensitive skin and have had acne since I was in 5th grade, like a long time. But I suck at treating myself. I really do. I got a
gift card for this place called Spruce, which is where I usually go, and I got it for my birthday back in November, and it's now July, which, you know, last time I got a gift certificate for this place, it took me over a year, like almost 2 years. It might have even been over 2 years to use it. So in case you're wondering how bad I am at going out and pampering myself, that bad. But I went and got a bikini wax because on Monday, it's Saturday right now, we are heading to Mexico for a week. I usually don't get bikini waxes because I honestly don't have a reason to get them, but I don't want to deal with all that when I'm chilling in my swimsuit down in Mexico for the next week. So I went ahead and got that done, got my facial, and had a great time, super relaxed, about to do some shopping, but I wanted to go ahead and also check in with my reading because I have not been doing a lot of reading. I have been feeling really slumpy, and I believe tomorrow I'm gonna film my mid-month wrap-up, which will be out before this, and so you can go ahead and see that as I explain why I think I'm not doing that much reading right now. But my current read is The Girl Who Drank the Moon, and this is a middle grade, and I just don't know if I'm in the mood for a middle grade. I've been reading this for a few days and I'm literally 70 pages in, which, considering how ginormous the text is, just means that I'm not picking up the book. I think I read maybe 10 pages yesterday. I will say that I've been reading 20 pages of Rebecca, which is my current challenge book, every day, and I've really been enjoying that read. So I've definitely been prioritizing that. But I don't have too much to say on this book other than it's not really what I want to be reading, if I'm being totally honest. Sorry, there's people walking and I'm like, don't judge me. But I mean, I definitely can tell how this is a really cute, magical, whimsical, feel good story with quirky characters, and it's just a little bit too childish for what I want right now. I'm sure that there are times where I would be in a mood for a story like this. Now is not it, but yeah, at this time our character is still really young. I think she's only about 5 years old and is starting to come into her magic since she was given moonshine instead of starshine. And starshine is supposed to make you like better in a way, but it kind of like blesses you, so you have like a nice good life. But moonshine can give you magic, and her magic has been growing ever since she consumed moonshine as an infant, and now that she is like 5 years old, it's all kind of like coming out of her in a very uncontrollable way. And the witch who took her in and the swamp monster and this little tiny dragon are just kind of trying to deal with the shenanigans of that all. And the way I don't have patience for children, the way I do not have patience, I'm sorry, like if I was dealing with this child, I would be like, oh my god, like she's like genuinely annoying me, and I feel bad because she's like a 5-year-old, but like, are 5-year-olds that clueless? I don't know. I don't hang out with a lot of 5-year-olds. So that being said, that's been annoying me a little bit. We also have the Protectorate, I want to say is what they are called, and they are the ones who sacrifice the children to the witch, and the witch is like, once a year they're like abandoning one of their children. I don't know why, but they're a miserable village compared to like all the other villages. There's like the free cities, and then there's the Protectorate. So it's very obvious, and the author doesn't try to hide it at all, that the Protectorate is controlled by a group of elders that makes up a lot of lore and a lot of laws, and a lot of lies in order to keep themselves in power while everyone else is like all sad and miserable. So it's a very exaggerated form of corruption, but it is a young adult or a middle grade story, so children might just need that more spelled out. And for me, I'm just like, wow, way to like slap me over the face with this and act as if I have no reading comprehension skills of my own. But then again, like I said, middle grade story, and I have to keep reminding myself of that while I'm reading it. That being said, I do not foresee myself finishing this today or tomorrow. Luckily, this vlog isn't supposed to come out until the Friday after I return from my trip, so I'm not planning on taking this with me to Mexico. I'm not vlogging in Mexico. I'm going to Mexico and I'm relaxing. I'm not doing nothing, zip, nada. I'm gonna be sleeping, I'm gonna be reading, I'm gonna be chilling on the beach, I'm gonna be eating food. That's all I'm gonna be doing. So that being said, I'll probably pick this up once I come back from Mexico, but I'll work on it today and tomorrow, see how much of it I get through, and I'll probably check in with you one more time before we head out for good. And then we will hopefully finish this here before this vlog needs to go up. But that is my update for now. If you live in Olympia or Chehalis, you need to check out Spruce Wax and Spa because they are incredible. I've always been super happy with them. They are a little pricey, but you know what? For good quality, good products, great service, unfortunately, you just gotta pay for it. So that's why I asked for gift cards. I don't have to pay for it myself. All right, guys. I will check in with you guys next time. I gotta go do some shopping, meet up with my parents, and grab some lunch as well. And yeah, I will see you later. Alright guys, so I am back from Mexico, so I'm just coming here to check in and reacquaint myself with this vlog. I did not vlog my Mexico trip because I was just trying to relax, chill, and we weren't doing too much. It's not like we were going around doing too much exploring, but we were at the Pueblo Bonito Rosa Hotel in Cabo San Lucas, and it was very nice, very relaxing. I wish I could say that I was just like rejuvenated and just feeling wonderful. I'm not. I mean, I'm definitely feeling better, but I'm still tired. I think I'm just at that state of like mental exhaustion that it would take more than a week-long vacation for me to feel like a well-rested human being. But we're working on it, guys. We are working on it the best that we can. So I just wanted to come in and do a little check-in and tell you a little bit about the trip, and to let you know kind of where I am with my reading and the plans for this week, because this vlog is supposed to come up on this Friday. So it is currently Sunday, and so I need to go ahead and finish this book and edit this vlog and upload it and do the thumbnail by Thursday night. So I obviously didn't bring this book with me on my trip, just because I wasn't vlogging while I was there, so it wouldn't have been worth it for me to bring it. I did do some reading while on the trip. Hello! Oh my gosh. It's a Tofino. Oops. No. I have some souvenirs I want to tell you about that we don't need him to be overly interested in. So anyway, I am currently on page 116. I never ended up checking in with you guys before I left for Mexico because I ended up not doing a lot of reading, so there wasn't anything for me to update you on. My goal today is to get to the 50% mark, which I think was around the 190 mark. So that is the goal for today. What are you doing? Sorry, I have a kitten distracting me. Last night when we came home, he was a little nervous around us, but I think he once again has realized who we are and realized we're not strangers. So now he's... What are you doing? He's very hyper right now. But that being said, let's see if I even remember what was going on in the book when I left, because I don't think I was super duper enjoying this book. It just wasn't the vibe that I was wanting right now. And I was watching Amy from A-Star Reads daily vlogs or semi-daily vlogs, and she's currently listening to the audio of this book, and she was talking about how the pacing seemed weird to her, but that might have been because she was picking up the book in such weird intervals because of her traveling. And I was like, oh, That's probably gonna be me as well, since I just put this book down for like a whole week and now barely remember what was going on. So keep that in mind when I'm talking about this book, and take my rating with a grain of salt, because I'm probably not giving this book the fairest shot that it deserves. But that being said, that is the book that I'm going to be reading for this week. I do need to start editing this vlog as well as we go, just so that I'm not scrambling at the end. But I just wanted to go ahead and show you a couple souvenirs from Mexico. And then I also have, I think this is a Pango order, because when I came home and saw the box, I was like, I did order something from Barnes & Noble and had a pre-order, but all of those had already shown up. But I did have a Pango order going, so she probably just reused the box. But souvenir-wise, I only got like 3 of them. So the first of them was a bookmark. I technically got one for my friend as well, but I'm just going to show the one that I got for myself. And it's just like this little cactus, and you know, it's kind of like, ooh, like what is this made out of? It's not leather, whatever this is material wise. So I just thought it was really cute with like the little cactus on it. So we went to an art walk that happens every Thursday over in San Jose, and this is where I got a couple of these things, and that includes this beautiful painting right here. So this is made on paper that the artist, she makes it herself out of tree bark, and then she goes ahead and draws the image. But then if you look really closely, you can see it really well with like this string here, but also all of the little flowers, all the little blooms are thread as well. So I thought this was really cute. My mom ended up getting an image from this woman as well. So I keep wanting to put like an art gallery wall over on one side of my room where I kind of have a mirror window right now, but I just need to get around to starting to collect picture frames in order to do that right now. And then the final one was from essentially a souvenir shop in Cabo, and I just fell in love with the artist. They had this beautiful cat in the window, but she was just too big for me to bring home, and luckily he had some smaller works of art, and I went ahead and snatched up this fish. So I think he is just the cutest, and I think that the bird just lines up really well. And I'm just a huge fan of black and white. Usually this art is often white and blue, which I really love, but that was the color that the cat was in. But the black and white is gorgeous as well. So that is one of my souvenirs, and let's go ahead and check out if I'm correct. I'm going to make sure that I'm not showing my address or the shipper's address as well. Definitely well packed, so that is good. There should be 2 books in here if I can get my... I have a bad habit of like cutting towards me, but it just, in my opinion, works better. I don't know what to tell you. I've never stabbed myself, so... Knock on wood, it stays that way. Not that I just like jinx myself. All right, so packed so nicely. All right, put that down there. So these are the 2 books. There's like packing peanuts and everything. Alrighty, so after I did my mid-year check-in, was like, oh my gosh, I'm super behind on my reading 5 books by Indigenous authors because I have read 0, and that is still the case because my hold for Shanae Lande, or the Darcy Little Badger book, has not come back in again, so I'm still only partially through that book. But I have been doing a lot of research on books by Indigenous authors that I was, you know, could potentially pick up because I don't get exposed to them very often, because that's just the way that it works, unfortunately. And I was actually kind of hoping for fiction books because I feel like I have an easier time finding nonfiction books. But unfortunately, I do think that this is a nonfiction book, but it is a memoir that seems to be told in a very interesting way. So I decided to check Pango and if they had it, and someone did. So I went ahead and snatched it up, and that is going to be Dog Flower by Danielle Geller. Sorry, I heard a suspicious noise. And when you have a cat, suspicious noises, you're like, Anyway, so this seems to be kind of, they say it's kind of told in images and in words. So that, looking through it, does not really seem to be the case. I mean, there's like a few images, like some pictures throughout it a little bit, but for the most part, it really just seems to be text. So, I mean, like, there are some pictures in here, but I was kind of expecting the whole book to be like this, but that's fine. That's totally fine. We will still go ahead and check it out. This book is My Mother Was Navajo, born on the reservation in the old Indian hospital in Fort Defiance. My mother spent the last 6 months of her life homeless, sleeping in a park in Lake Worth, Florida. When I asked her about the reservation, she always told me to never go back. So it says, when Daniela Geller's mother dies of alcohol withdrawal during an attempt to get sober, Geller returns to Florida and finds her mother's life packed into 8 suitcases. Most are filled with clothes, except the last one, which contains diaries, photos, and letters, a few undeveloped disposable cameras, dried sage jewelry, and the bandana her mother wore on days she skipped a hair wash. Geller, an archivist and a writer, uses these pictures of her mother's life to try to understand her mother's relationship to home and their shared need to leave it. Geller embarks on a journey to confront her family's history and the decisions she herself was forced to make while growing up, a journey that will end at her mother's home, the Navajo Reservation. So I'm definitely intrigued by it. I do wish it had like a bit more images in it, but it does sound like an intriguing memoir. Plus, I just love this cover, so glad to have it in my library. And since I was ordering a book from this person, I was kind of like, oh, I'll check what else they have available and see if I want to purchase any of their other books. And they did happen to have a book that I am interested in. And that is The World Gives Away by Marissa Levine. This is a book that I heard about from Riley Marie, and I think I actually put it on a TBR at some point, but never ended up getting to it. This is a sci-fi story, and I believe it takes place on a spaceship that acts like essentially as a planet, like a man-made planet. So let's check. In a world on the brink of collapse, a young woman born into servitude must seize her own destiny in this glittering debut with an unforgettable twist. In 50 years, Myra Dell will be free. Until then, she's a contract worker in a world that demands her sacrifice. Ever since she was 5 years old, her life and labor have belonged to the highest bidder on her contract, butchers, laundries, and now the elite, secretive Carlyles. But when one night finds the Carlyles dead, Mira is suddenly free a lot sooner than she anticipated, and at a cost she never could have imagined. Burdened with the Carlyles' orphaned daughter and the terrible secret they died to escape, she bolts. With time running out, Myra must come face to face with the truth about her world and embrace what's left before it's too late. And I believe we are following her point of view as well as potentially the person that is chasing her. and we're just kind of like chasing them through this kind of man-made planet. So that sounds really intriguing. Riley really loved this book, so I decided to go ahead and snatch it up while I could get it for relatively cheap on Pango. All right, so that's just a little mini book haul, a mini souvenir situation from Mexico, and I do have a lot of things that I want to do today, but hopefully I will be checking in with you either later today or early tomorrow, because I get to the 50% mark like I want to today. But I'm gonna go ahead and skedoodle. Editing Natalie is gonna be super mad at me for adding this 15-minute clip for her to edit when she's already on a tight crunch line. So sorry, me. And I will see you guys later.
Thank you very much. Again, significant news breaking today. President Biden withdrawing from the 2024 race, stepping off of the ticket and endorsing.
I know, Loki. I know.
The start of a new moment in his presidency.
You're annoying.
NBC News special report. You see it tonight on Nightly and on NBC News Now.
But also the veterans. There are drivers like
All right, everyone, I have achieved my goal of reaching the 50% mark by the end of the day. So hurrah. So my thoughts on the story so far, I don't think I have too much more to say. I am getting the feeling that I'm going to enjoy the second half of this book a little bit more than the first half. This first half has been a lot of build up, getting to know kind of characters, watching our main character kind of grow up a little bit, some of the things that those around her have done to kind of protect her. Have those been the best things? Maybe not. I personally would have not gone that route, but we all make choices. And all of that is kind of coming to a head here as our girl approaches her 13th birthday, and when she turns 13, something really big is going to change, and I think she's going to see some pretty dramatic changes, not just in herself but in her life and those around her. On top of that, not only does it seem that our girl Luna here is changing, but also the world around her. We get kind of glimpses of the past when it comes to something that wiped out a lot of people, something that was potentially very dangerous, potentially connected to the volcano, and this seems to be something that our witch who is raising Luna has buried deep inside of her, and she's like very old, like hundreds of years old, and so she has kind of forgotten all about that, which is unfortunate because it seems like maybe some of that hi baby, sorry, I'm always distracted by Tofu. But it seems like some of those troubles are resurfacing here. But that being said, I feel like there's gonna be more action, more plot development here in the second half of the book. I don't want to say that I'm bored. Bored seems like a really strong word to use, but I feel like I'm not overly attached to any of our characters, and I've said it before, I just feel like everything's a little too whimsical for my taste. It might just be a little too middle grade, a little too magical, a little wishy-washy, oddball, the kind of folklore that I just don't feel a strong attachment to. So I am struggling with this book a little bit, but I will go ahead and continue on with it because, like I said, I am intrigued to see what happens here in the second half. But I have gone ahead and gotten to the halfway point. So at this point, the next time I will check in with you will be when I finish this book, which will hopefully be definitely not tomorrow. Definitely not. But it would be nice if I finished it by like Wednesday, so in the next 2-3 days would be perfect. And I will go ahead and wrap up my thoughts on this book as well as this vlog. All Alright guys, so I am here to wrap up this vlog and to give you my final thoughts on The Girl Who Drank the Moon. I just finished this book. Now I'm gonna be totally honest, I kind of cheated because I switched over to the audiobook. Not that reading an audiobook is cheating, but I was planning on reading all of these books physically, but I had a really terrible headache yesterday and a lot of body aches. Like I was actually worried that maybe I had picked up COVID on the way back from Mexico, and I was like, I'm feeling way better today, so who knows what it was. I slept terribly, but it is a full moon and I tend to not sleep as well on full moons, so I might have just been doing too much tossing and turning the night before, but either way I just didn't have the energy to read with my eyeballs, and so I finished this book up with an audiobook, and I think I have to give it 3.5 stars. I really did enjoy the ending of the story. I think the majority of the book was kind of a 3-star read for me, but the ending kind of won me over. I thought it was really sweet. It was really heartwarming. I did tear up a little bit towards the end. It was definitely a bittersweet ending, but I think that for a middle grade, it was a wonderful way for this story to wrap up. I did enjoy, for the most part, the majority of the characters in this book, but sometimes I felt like there were too many characters and I never felt like I got to know each of them well enough for me to feel really fully connected to any of them. Even our main character, Luna, we had a lot of different POVs within the story, and despite it looking kind of longish, it is not too long of a book since it is a middle grade, so the writing is larger, or the text I should say is larger, and so I just feel like we had too many POVs for the length of this story, and I am a very character driven person, so that did keep me slightly at a distance from the story, and as I mentioned, it is a little whimsical for me. Sometimes I like that, you know, sometimes I don't know. I feel like the only time I really enjoyed it is kind of Alice in Wonderland kind of situations where maybe it tilts a little bit more into horror, but obviously this book doesn't do it, so sometimes it was just a little too fluffy for me, but I definitely see why people enjoy this story. I think it is a relatively feel-good story, despite having some darker themes to it. I think that it's a good story for a younger audience, especially when it comes to changing and learning yourself and confronting grief and sorrow and past trauma. Things like that are all kind of touched on in this book in a way that I think a younger audience could definitely understand. So I did enjoy that aspect of the story, but other than that, I did feel like maybe the pacing was off a little bit, where it felt like the first 80% of the story was a lot of meandering, and then like the last 20% of the story was really fast paced and a lot of things were happening. So I do wish that the pacing of the story was a little bit better, because while pacing like that works for maybe like a horror or a thriller, for a fantasy like this, I just felt like it came off as a little wonky and like it was drawn out too much, or that the ending was rushed too much. So I feel like 3.5 is a good rating for it. I did enjoy what I was listening to from the audiobook. Obviously I didn't read the whole book via the audiobook, and I do think that the narrator did a good job with the different voices that she was doing. So the audiobook is enjoyable. I think that you can enjoy the book both physically and as an audiobook, since I had an enjoyable time with both of them. But that being said, quick wrap up of this version of this vlog. Not as successful as the first one. I still haven't gotten a 5-star doing this. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do a third vlog for reading people's 2023 favorites, because
didn't have a great time with this one, to be honest. I'm not feeling drawn to this vlog idea again, to be completely honest. So this might be just the last one that I do. But wrapping up, just kind of reminding you of what we read, which I'm sure you remember better than me, because for me, this vlog has taken a hot second to make. But we started off by reading Born Darkly and giving it 2.5 stars, which made it the first book this year that I gave under 3 stars, which was a very bad start to this video. Just did not enjoy the writing in that book whatsoever, so not a good start. We then headed over to The Banded Queens, and I ended up giving this 3.5 stars as well. Is that right? I probably should have double checked before I came on here. I'm pretty sure that I gave this 3.5 stars. This book, I think, struggled kind of in the first half, but the second half of the book definitely got my attention. So I did enjoy the friendship aspects of the story. And then, of course, we had The Girl Who Drank the Moon, which I just said I gave 3.5 stars. So both of these got 3.5 stars. Not super happy that we didn't even get a 4-star in this reading vlog. I would say that probably The Banded Queens was my favorite of this reading vlog. It just kind of worked the best for me, but overall not amazing. But at least we're done with this vlog and we can go ahead and focus on other books and other vlogs and all that jazz. So I would love to know if you guys have read any of these books and what you thought of them. And as always, guys, thank you so much for supporting my channel by watching my videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.